Saskatchewan, the late 1960s, a place where winter storms don't warn you twice, and survival can depend on a single light in the distance. This is the true story of Walter Kondrachuk, a young buyer who faced the kind of cold that takes lives on the prairies. This is Episode 1. At the end of the 1960s, Walter Kondrachuk was working as a buyer for KJP on the South Saskatchewan River Dam project at Cutbank, a remote work site about 40 kilometers east of Outlook. Cutbank wasn't much more than a ghost town. There were no rentals available, no accommodations, so everyone stayed in camp. On one Saturday afternoon, the project manager walked through camp with news nobody expected. All construction activities were canceled. A winter storm was on its way. But looking outside, the sky was still sunny, still quiet, still giving no sign of what was coming. Seeing the calm weather, Walter picked up the landline, long before cell phones existed, and called his girlfriend Margie, who was teaching in Lucky Lake, about 25 miles away. He told her he'd drive over to see her. A simple plan, a short drive, one he had done many times before. Walter decided to stop in Dunblane to buy a bottle of gin and 6 bottles of 7-Up. There he ran into a co-worker, and with the snow and wind beginning to blow outside, they decided to step into a bar and have a few drinks. But the storm was already rolling in. Still, Walter believed he could make it to Margie, and he set out toward Lucky Lake. Walter decided to take a shortcut on a gravel road. A big mistake. Visibility vanished. The storm turned into a total whiteout. He hit a snowbank, hard. The engine stalled. The battery died. Suddenly, he was trapped in a frozen car, wearing only a summer jacket and no gloves as the temperature continued to fall. Minutes turned into hours. Through the blizzard, Walter spotted a faint light from a farmhouse far down the road. He stepped into the storm and walked toward it. But after a quarter of the distance, the cold overwhelmed him. He turned back to the car, now dangerously cold. It grew so freezing inside that one of the 7-Up bottles popped a cap off from the pressure. He realized he needed heat, or he wouldn't live until morning. Walter ripped off the windshield washer hose and used it to siphon gasoline, swallowing some in the process. He filled the ashtray with gasoline and mixed in sandblast sand from the trunk. Sand drivers carried in winter to gain traction. He struck a match. A burst of flame. Thick black smoke. Dangerous, but warm. That improvised fire kept him alive while the storm raged outside. When Walter woke again, the storm had calmed. The farmhouse light was still glowing. With frozen feet and numb hands, Walter Kondrachuk forced himself out of the car and walked toward the farmhouse. This time, he made it. A dog barked as he approached, and the farmer waved him inside. The first thing the farmer gave him wasn't a blanket, but a shot of whiskey. Walter phoned Margie to tell her where he was. She said she had called the RCMP in Outlook earlier, hoping they could send a search party. But the officer told her the storm was too severe for a helicopter. Then, only in Saskatchewan, he added, "When you find him, tell him we have an outstanding parking ticket for him." Back in camp, medics applied ointment and bandaged Walter's frozen feet. A few days later, he noticed one of his toes was turning black and smelled terrible. He went to a doctor in Saskatchewan who told him he had a touch of gangrene. He was lucky to keep the toe at all. To this day, he still has only a partial toenail, but it's still alive. Most people never walk away from a night like that, not with no winter coat, not with no gloves, not in a blizzard that swallowed the road and the world around it. But Walter Kondrachuk survived, and every time he tells the story, he ends it the same way. Amen.